The autumn wind howled through the ancient oaks surrounding St. Mary's churchyard, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and fading leaves, as if the ground itself were whispering forgotten sins. Eleanor Hargrove, her frail hands clutching a worn rosary, knelt before a weathered gravestone etched with the name of her long-dead husband, her eyes brimming with tears that refused to fall. In that moment, as the evening shadows lengthened, she turned to Father Thomas, the young priest who had stumbled upon her solitary vigil, and uttered words that would bind him in a web of moral torment. "Father, promise me you'll keep my secret until the day I draw my last breath. You carried it for 60 years, and only then can the truth set us all free." Father Thomas froze, his cassock fluttering like a dark flag in the breeze. He had come to the churchyard for a quiet walk after evening mass, seeking solace from the burdens of his parishioners' confessions, but nothing had prepared him for this encounter. Eleanor, at 85, was a fixture in the small town of Willow Creek, a widow known for her quiet charity, baking pies for the homeless shelter and tending the church flowers with hands gnarled by arthritis. Yet here she was, her voice trembling with the weight of decades, imploring him with eyes that held the depth of an ocean storm. "Please, sit with me," she whispered, patting the cold grass beside her. Reluctantly, he lowered himself, the chills seeping through his clothes, mirroring the unease in his heart. "It started in 1965, Eleanor began, her voice gaining strength as if unburdening herself was the only way to keep breathing. "I was 25, married to Samuel for 7 years. He was a mill worker, strong as an ox, but his temper— oh, Father, it was a fire that consumed everything in its path." As she spoke, the churchyard seemed to come alive with her memories. The gravestones, silent witnesses, cast long shadows that danced like ghosts. Eleanor described a life of hidden bruises and muffled cries, nights when Samuel's whiskey-fueled rage turned their modest home into a battlefield. "I endured it for our daughter, Lila," she said, her fingers tracing the engraved letters on the stone. "Samuel Hargrove, beloved husband and father." She was only 5, with eyes like summer skies. "I couldn't let her grow up without a father, or so I told myself. But endurance has its limits, and Eleanor's shattered one fateful night. Samuel had come home late, reeking of liquor and defeat after losing his job. Lila had spilled her milk at dinner, a childish accident, but it ignited his fury. He raised his hand, and in that instant, Eleanor saw not just her daughter's fear, but the cycle of pain that would chain them forever. "I grabbed the iron poker from the fireplace," she confessed, her voice dropping to a hush. "It was self-defense, Father, or that's what I convinced myself." One swing, and he crumpled like a felled tree. The priest's breath caught. Murder? In this quaint town where scandals were as rare as snow in July? He glanced around, ensuring they were alone. The only sounds the distant call of a crow and the rustle of leaves. "What happened next?" he asked, his pastoral training kicking in, though his mind reeled. Eleanor leaned back against the gravestone, her face pale in the fading light. "I staged it as an accident. Pushed him down the cellar stairs, made it look like a drunken fall. The coroner ruled it accidental, small town, no questions asked. I buried him here, under God's watchful eye, and raised Lila alone. She grew up believing her father was a hero, lost too soon." As the story unfolded, Father Thomas felt a surge of empathy mixed with horror. Eleanor's life post-tragedy was one of quiet atonement, volunteering at the church, helping battered women in secret, channeling her guilt into acts of kindness. "But why tell me now?" he pressed, his voice gentle yet insistent. "Because time is a thief, Father," she replied, a sad smile creasing her lips. "The doctors say my heart is failing. Weeks, maybe months. And Lila, she's coming home tomorrow after 40 years away. She deserves the truth, but not from me. Promise you'll keep it until I'm gone, then give her this." From her coat pocket, she produced a sealed envelope, yellowed with age, containing her written confession. The weight of the envelope in his hand felt like judgment itself. Father Thomas nodded, his own secret soft doubt in his faith, of loneliness in his calling paling in comparison. As night fell, they sat in silence, the church bells tolling like a heartbeat counting down. The next morning, Willow Creek buzzed with its usual rhythm. Farmers at the market, children chasing leaves on the sidewalks. Father Thomas presided over Mass, his homily on forgiveness ringing hollow in his ears. Eleanor's words echoed, a secret now shared, binding them in uneasy alliance. Lila arrived that afternoon, her rental car pulling up to the old Hargrove house, a Victorian relic on Elm Street. She was 55 now, a successful lawyer from the city, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes still holding that summer sky blue. Eleanor greeted her at the door with a hug that lingered, frailty evident in her trembling arms. "Mom, you look tired," Lila said, concern etching her features as they settled in the living room, surrounded by faded photographs of happier times. "Just old age, dear," Eleanor deflected, pouring tea with unsteady hands. But inside, her heart raced not just from illness, but from the proximity to revelation. She had asked Father Thomas to hold the secret until her death, but seeing Lila stirred doubts. Was silence mercy or cowardice? As days passed, mother and daughter rekindled their bond. They walked the churchyard paths, Lila sharing stories of her life, a failed marriage, a career built on defending the vulnerable, echoes of her mother's hidden pain. Eleanor listened, pride swelling amidst guilt. "You've done well, Lila. Better than I ever could." One evening, as rain pattered against the windows, Eleanor broached the past. "Your father, he wasn't perfect." Lila nodded, sipping her tea. "I know, Mom. Kids sense things. But he loved us, in his way." Eleanor's throat tightened. Loved? The word tasted bitter. But she held back, honoring her pact with the priest. Father Thomas, meanwhile, wrestled with his conscience. In the confessional, he heard petty sins gossip, envy, but none matched Eleanor's gravity. He prayed for guidance, the envelope burning a hole in his desk drawer. Then came the twist, an unexpected visitor. Mrs. Agnes Whitaker, the town's oldest resident at 92, knocked on the rectory door one foggy morning. "Father, I need to confess something about Eleanor Hargrove." His pulse quickened. Agnes, a former neighbor, had been Samuel's sister. "What is it?" he asked, ushering her in. With quivering voice, Agnes revealed, "I saw it all that night. Through the window. Eleanor didn't kill in cold-blood. It was to protect Lila. Samuel was monstrous. He beat them both. I kept silent because I feared him too, even in death. But now, with Eleanor fading, you must know she saved that child." This revelation shifted everything. Father Thomas realized Eleanor's secret wasn't just guilt, but a layered truth of sacrifice. Agnes's testimony added nuance, humanizing the act, emphasizing the desperation of abuse victims in an era when silence was expected. Emboldened, he visited Eleanor. "I've learned more," he said softly. "You're not alone in this." Tears welled in her eyes. Then perhaps redemption is possible. As Lila helped her mother prepare for a church fundraiser, bonds deepened, but the secret loomed like a storm cloud. Lila's presence brought a spark of life back to the Hargrove home, where dust motes danced in the sunlight streaming through lace curtains, illuminating shelves lined with Lila's childhood books and Eleanor's collection of pressed flowers from the churchyard. They spent afternoons baking apple pies, the kitchen filling with cinnamon scents that masked the underlying tension Eleanor felt in her chest, not just the physical ache, but the emotional one of unspoken truths. "I've missed this," Lila confessed one day, flour dusting her cheeks like fresh snow, her laughter echoing in a way that reminded Eleanor of the little girl she had fought so hard to protect. But as the days turned into a week, Eleanor's health declined subtly. Shortness of breath during walks, a persistent cough that she waved off as allergies. Father Thomas noticed during his visits, his eyes filled with concern as he brought communion. "How are you holding up?" he asked in private, the envelope still safeguarded. "I'm ready, Father," she replied, her voice resolute, yet laced with vulnerability. "But Lila, she's thriving now." Telling her might shatter that. The priest pondered Agnes's words, the twist that had reframed Eleanor's confession from murder to mercy. He decided to probe gently, inviting Lila to the rectory for tea. "Your mother is a remarkable woman," he began, watching her reaction. Lila smiled warmly. "She is. Raised me single-handedly after Dad's accident. I owe her everything." Accident. The word hung heavy. Father Thomas steered the conversation toward forgiveness, sharing parables that hinted at hidden pains. Lila opened up about her own regrets, leaving town young, pursuing a career over family. I sense Mom carries something heavy. Do you know what it is? He hesitated, bound by his promise. Secrets have their time, he said cryptically. Back home, Eleanor overheard Lila on the phone with a friend, discussing plans to stay longer. Joy mingled with fear. More time meant more risk of the truth slipping. That night, as thunder rumbled outside, Eleanor sat by the fire, journal in hand, penning letters she might never send. The twist deepened with the arrival of another unexpected figure, Dr. Harlan Brooks, the town's retired coroner, now in his 80s, who had ruled Samuel's death accidental. He showed up at the churchyard one crisp afternoon, leaning on a cane, his face etched with lines of regret. Father Thomas, tending the graves, greeted him warily. "Father, I've come to unburden my soul," Harlan said, glancing at Samuel's stone. "About Eleanor. I knew it wasn't an accident. Saw the inconsistencies. The head wound didn't match a fall. But Samuel was a brute. Half the town knew. I let it go, thinking justice was served." This revelation stunned the priest. Not only Agnes, but the coroner too? It painted a picture of collective silence, a community complicit in protecting one of their own from a monster. "Why now?" Father Thomas asked. "Guilt eats at you," Harlan replied. "And with Eleanor ill, perhaps it's time for healing." Empowered by these perspectives, Father Thomas began to see Eleanor's secret not as a burden, but a testament to human resilience. He shared anonymized versions in his sermons, speaking of redemption and the gray areas of morality, drawing parishioners closer. Lila, attending Mass, felt stirred. That sermon, it felt personal, she told her mother later. Eleanor nodded, her heart pounding. "Life is full of grays, dear." As Eleanor's condition worsened, a doctor's visit confirming congestive heart failure, Lila insisted on caregiving, bathing her, reading aloud from old novels. Intimacy grew, but so did Eleanor's internal conflict. One evening, clutching her rosary, she nearly confessed, but visions of Lila's shattered trust stopped her. Father Thomas, meanwhile, consulted with Agnes and Harlan in secret, forming an unlikely trio of elders united by the past. "We must support her," Agnes urged. "Let the truth come gently." Their meetings added layers to the narrative, highlighting how one act rippled through lives, fostering unexpected alliances. The priest realized the value in community, in shared burdens lightening the load. Lila, sensing undercurrents, delved into family albums, finding old letters hinting at Samuel's temper. Questions arose. Mom, was Dad abusive? Eleanor's eyes filled. He had his demons. The admission cracked the facade, but Eleanor held firm to her pact. As winter approached, snow blanketing the churchyard like a shroud, tension built. Father Thomas prayed for strength, the envelope a constant reminder. One stormy night, Eleanor's cough turned violent, blood flecking her handkerchief. Lila panicked, calling the ambulance. In the hospital, monitors beeping like accusatory fingers, Eleanor gripped her daughter's hand. "I love you more than life," she whispered. Doctors stabilized her, but prognosis was grim days, perhaps. Father Thomas visited, administering last rites in private. "It's time?" she asked. "Not yet," he assured, but doubt crept in. Should he break the promise for closure? Lila, exhausted, confided in the priest. "She's hiding something. I feel it." He offered comfort, stories of faith's mysteries. But inside, the twists Agnes's witness, Harlan's cover-up urged him toward revelation. As Eleanor lay in the sterile room, memories flooded. Lila's first steps, Samuel's rages, the poker's weight. Regret mixed with peace. She had protected her child, built a life of quiet good. Discharged home for comfort care, the house became a vigil site. Neighbors brought casseroles, unaware of the deeper drama. Agnes visited, sharing old tales, subtly preparing the ground. "Mrs. Whitaker knew Dad?" Lila asked, intrigued. "Oh yes," Agnes said. "A complicated man." This sparked Lila's curiosity, leading her to town archives, uncovering police reports of domestic calls never pursued. Pieces fell into place, suspicion dawning. Confronting Eleanor gently. "Mom, what really happened to Dad?" Tears streamed. "Ask Father Thomas after I'm gone." The admission hung, charged with emotion. Lila, torn between anger and compassion, chose love, holding her mother through the nights. Father Thomas, Witnessing this, saw the human value. Forgiveness born of understanding, secrets as shields turned to bridges. As Eleanor's breaths grew shallow, the churchyard called to her in dreams, gravestones whispering absolution. Eleanor's final days unfolded like the slow turning of autumn leaves, each moment laced with poignant tenderness and unspoken regrets. The Hargrove home transforming into a sanctuary of quiet reflection where time seemed to stretch and contract with every labored breath. Lila sat vigil by the bedside, her hand clasped in her mother's, the room filled with the soft glow of a lamp and the faint aroma of chamomile tea steeping on the nightstand. "Tell me about your childhood, Mom," Lila urged one afternoon, desperate to anchor them in happier memories amid the encroaching shadow of loss. Eleanor, her voice a fragile thread, recounted tales of growing up on a farm during the Depression, picking berries under endless skies, her parents' love a beacon in hard times. "They taught me resilience," she said, eyes distant, "and sacrifice." The words carried double meaning, hinting at the secret without unveiling it, stirring Lila's growing unease. Father Thomas became a constant presence, his visits blending spiritual comfort with subtle guidance. He read from Psalms, verses on mercy resonating deeply. "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy." Eleanor squeezed his hand in gratitude, her pact intact, but the priest's resolve wavered as he saw Lila's exhaustion, her eyes red from unshed tears. The twist intensified with yet another layer. A letter arrived, anonymous but postmarked from a nearby town, containing a faded photograph of Samuel in his youth, arm around a young woman not Eleanor. Enclosed note: he had secrets too. Forgive and let go. Father Thomas, upon seeing it, Lila shared in confusion, suspected Harlan or Agnes, but it added complexity: Samuel's infidelity, perhaps fueling his rage, humanizing even the villain. "This changes things," Lila murmured, staring at the photo. "Dad wasn't who I thought." Eleanor, feigning sleep, overheard, a mix of relief and sorrow washing over her. The revelation softened the edges of her guilt, suggesting cycles of pain predating her act. As snow fell outside, blanketing Willow Creek in hush, community rallied. Parishioners left flowers at the door, whispers of Eleanor's kindness circulating. Agnes baked cookies, sharing stories of Eleanor's post-widowhood charity, secretly funding scholarships for abused children's education. "You're a saint," Agnes told her old friend. Eleanor chuckled weakly. "Far from it." Lila, piecing puzzles, confronted Father Thomas privately. "What does Mom want you to tell me after?" He sighed, ethics clashing. Truths that heal, not harm. Frustrated yet trusting, Lila delved deeper, visiting Harlan under pretense of historical interest. The old coroner, sensing her quest, confessed partially, "Your father's death. It spared many pains." Shocked, Lila returned home, mind reeling. "Mom, did Dad hurt you?" Eleanor's eyes met hers, brimming with love. "He did, but I protected us." The partial admission bridged gaps, tears flowing as mother and daughter embraced, forgiveness budding without full disclosure. Father Thomas, informed by Lila, realized the secret was unraveling organically, twists like Agnes's and Harlan's testimonies paving the way. He prayed, envelope in hand, for the right moment. Eleanor's decline accelerated, visions blurred, whispers of Samuel haunting dreams. "Forgive me," she murmured in delirium. Lila soothed her. "There's nothing to forgive." But there was, and as hospice nurses came, reality pressed. One clear moment, Eleanor beckoned the priest. He nodded, pact evolving. The climax built as Lila found Eleanor's journal, entries cryptic yet revealing. "The poker saved us. Guilt my cross." Heartbroken, Lila sought answers from Agnes, who finally shared her witness. "Your mother is a hero, child. She stopped the monster." Tears cascaded. Why hide it? Fear of judgment. But truth frees. Armed with this, Lila returned, holding her mother. "I know, Mom." Eleanor's face lit with peace. "My brave girl." Father Thomas arrived for the envelope's delivery, but Lila waved it off. "I understand enough. The rest is hers to take." In that act of grace, human values shone. Compassion over condemnation, love transcending secrets. As Eleanor's breath slowed, family and friends gathered Lila, Father Thomas, Agnes, Harlon, a circle of redemption. She whispered final words. Thank you for keeping it. Until now. With a serene smile, she slipped away, the room filled with profound silence broken only by soft sobs. The funeral in the churchyard was poignant, snowflakes dancing like angels. Father Thomas eulogized. Eleanor taught us that secrets, born of pain, can bloom into acts of profound humanity. She sacrificed, loved fiercely, and in the end, found forgiveness. Lila, scattering roses on the grave beside Samuel's, felt closure. Rest, Mom. Your secrets safe and shared. The town healed, inspired by her story, whispered now as legend of quiet heroism. In the weeks following Eleanor's passing, Willow Creek wrapped itself in a cocoon of mourning and reflection, the churchyard becoming a place of pilgrimage where townsfolk left tokens, candles, notes, wildflowers honoring a woman whose life exemplified quiet strength amid turmoil. Lila lingered in the family home, sorting through belongings that evoked waves of nostalgia. A quilt sewn during long winters, recipe cards stained with years of use, each item a thread in the tapestry of her mother's existence. Father Thomas, ever the shepherd, checked on her daily, his own grief mingled with relief that the secret, once a heavy chain, had transformed into a bridge of understanding. The envelope, unopened at first, sat on the mantel like a sentinel. Lila hesitated, fingers tracing its edges, debating whether full knowledge would heal or reopen wounds. "What more is there?" she asked the priest one rainy afternoon, tea steaming between them. "Details of that night," he replied softly, "but also her love letters to you, written over years, explaining her choices." Encouraged, Lila read them alone that night, candlelight flickering. Eleanor's words poured out. Descriptions of Samuel's escalating violence, the terror in Lila's young eyes, the split-second decision that haunts yet saves. "I killed to protect life," she wrote. "Carry no hate for him or meanly lessons of empathy." Tears blurred the pages as Lila absorbed the depth of sacrifice. The twist's remnants, Agnes's eyewitness, Harlan's complicity framed it not as crime, but as desperate justice in a flawed world. Inspired, Lila decided to stay in Willow Creek, converting the home into a shelter for abuse survivors, naming it Hargrove Haven. "Mom's legacy," she told Father Thomas, "turning pain into purpose." He smiled, seeing divine poetry in it. She'd be proud. Community embraced the idea. Agnes volunteered stories. Harlan donated funds from his savings. Even the anonymous letters Cinder revealed them Sylvie's a distant relative of the woman in the photo, confirming Samuel's affairs, adding closure. As spring bloomed, churchyard flowers vibrant under sun, Lila visited the graves daily. "Thank you for the truth," she whispered to Eleanor's stone. Beside it, Samuel seemed less ominous, a reminder that villains are often victims too. Father Thomas's sermons evolved, emphasizing human frailty and redemption's power. Parishioners shared their own hidden burdens, fostering a culture of openness. One day, a young woman arrived at the shelter, bruised and fearful, echoing Eleanor's past. Lila listened, offered safety, channeling her mother's compassion. "You're not alone," she said, words Eleanor might have spoken. In quiet moments, Lila reflected on the secret's journey, from churchyard confession to life-altering revelation, underscoring values of forgiveness, resilience, and love's enduring light. Years passed, Willow Creek thriving with Hargrove Haven as its heart. Lila, now graying herself, mentored others, her story inspiring books and talks on domestic violence. Father Thomas, retiring, passed the envelope to her as keepsake. "Your mother's final gift." She nodded at peace. The churchyard, eternal witness, stood sentinel, where an elderly woman's secret, kept until the end, blossomed into timeless humanity.